What's going on, y'all? It's your boy Mike. So today we had another online class. This class wasn't really a class per se, but there is a class that we have that's pretty much a just a gathering place just to find information for for three other classes, pretty much. So it's pretty much just a hub, to get information for three other classes that you have to be in, and you actually get the information because two of those classes you can't sign up for. You have to be put into those classes. So that's pretty much what this class was talking about. It was this virtual class. Like, hey, this is what this quote unquote class is. You get information about these three classes here, and for your is a scientific writing class, just really hammer down APA formatting, all that fun stuff. And then the second class is your internship and then your practicum class. All the information is there in your internship and your practicum. You can't necessarily sign up for. You have to be put into the class by your guidance counselor, pretty much. So that's what today's class was. And then I have another class next Wednesday for the class I'm actually taking, which is my healthcare leadership class, which I think is going to be a pretty cool class. I'm actually looking forward to this to see what else I can learn, because like I said, my goal is to go into upper management, upper leadership. So if I can, kind of get a head start on that, I feel like it's just going to benefit me. But today I just kind of want to talk to you guys about how I'm getting through my doctorate debt free. So long story short, I'm paying for my doctorate out of pocket 100%. I know people like, that's insane. How are you doing that? I actually, it's tough. I will say that's one of the reasons why I work so much, because I'm paying out of pocket. A funny thing about it is, I remember when I first started, I was going to try to apply for a student loan. I was like, I really don't want to take student loans out again. I just finished paying mine off for my master's. My master's attempt, I should say. I just finished paying my student loans off for my master's attempt. I want to take out the student loans out if I don't have to. If I don't have to, I don't want to. I actually made wrote a game plan out of how I was gonna pay it off. I was like, man, I really don't want to. Then when I was trying to apply, they were saying I needed a cosigner. I'm like, why do I need a cosigner if I'm signing individual? At this point, I was 32. I was like, why do I need a cosigner? I'm 32 years old. I'm signing individual. This makes sense. So they literally wouldn't let me take out student loans. So I'm like, no, it's all good. I'm just gonna do what I know how to do. And I'm just gonna work, because if there's one thing that I can do pretty well is work. And for better or worse, work. Both sides of my family work really, really hard for the things that they have, which I am grateful for. And unfortunately, it's it's to my betterment, to have this work ethic that I can work pretty hard, but it's tiring, I can say. So how am I doing this? Let me first start off by saying, when my first attempt at my master's, I didn't know anything about student loans. That was my first time getting any kind of student loans. So I was completely lost, completely in the dark. I was like, what am I doing? And I am very particular with finances, because I was a little old school, and my family didn't grow up the richest or anything like that. We're always we're legit penny pinching. Like, we grew up in not the nicest area. I remember hearing stories from my parents saying about pretty much how poor they were. That they were like splitting like pot pies, and like back in the 90s, mac and cheese was like 50 cents. They were sharing that. So that's where I came from. That we were sharing. My parents were sharing 25-cent mac and cheese, and they were pretty much had to take toilet paper. So when I say that we didn't have money growing up, we didn't have like my parents, they weren't balling. They were anything but balling. They were they had to live in my grandparents' house for a while, and unfortunately that is very common. But they're going from one grandparent's house to another grandparent's house. it was, things were, early childhood was finances were not the best. And unfortunately, I grew up remembering hearing my parents tell these stories about how poor we were, how much money we didn't have. So that kind of just got stuck, in my head as a little kid. And I'm still like, even in my big age of 34, I'm still having, slight financial, emotional crises now. Straight up, like I don't like I'm making more money than my parents did, at my age, but I'm no, I like my apartment. No, my lights have never been cut off. I have a paid off car, so that's nothing. I don't have any debt. So that's a huge thing to say is that I'm 34. I don't have any debt. Completely debt free. I have my typical bills, my light bill, my rent, stuff like that. But I don't have any debt. I don't have any credit cards, no student loans, nothing like that. I don't have any debt. Just my typical bills. So I am very blessed to be in the position I'm at, and it took my it took learning from what my parents went through, and just learning is like, and me being, I say I'm cheap. I say I'm thrifty. People are like, you're cheap. I'm like, okay, but hey, they got me to where I'm at right now, and just took my planning of how I'm going to pay things off, because like I said, whenever I got to my sorry OT school, I was on a wait list, and then on that wait list, they're like, okay, we'll wait, see what happens, blah 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 blah. I found out I got accepted like 2 weeks before class started. So I'm like, how am I gonna pay for this? I have no clue I'm gonna pay for this. And OT school, that school was 80. No, if I finished school, it would have been close to $100,000. That's a lot of money. That obviously your boy didn't have. Like, I don't know who got 100K just laying around, but your boy don't got that kind of money just laying around. So I'm like, I have to figure out how to take student loans out. I knew nothing. I didn't know anything about student loans. I know what a good interest rate was. I don't know. I know anything. So I was just typing in Google, like, okay, how to take student loans, how to take student loans. I just took the first thing I saw, pretty much, which was a bad thing, because you never take the first thing that you saw, because you usually find the worst that you can find. And it was bad. The first student loan that I got, because unfortunately I had to get two. The first student loan I got was 10.4%. Yeah, 10.4%. That junk hurt. So, like I said, I didn't tell you guys my full story yet. I'm gonna tell you my full academic story one day. But whenever I withdrew from school, at that point I had $60,000 in debt, with my car being 5 point something percent, and my student loan being 10.4%. Yeah, that hurt. And I was like, all I know how to do was, put a little more, put a little more, put a little bit more. I remember when I was paying off when I was trying to work down my first car, I was like, I wonder if I can just pay a little bit more to the principal, if that's gonna help. And then I remember there were times in the not I'll get letters, and they're like, oh yeah, your next car payment isn't due for another 2 months or 3 months. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, wait a minute, like how? And I was like, oh, because I'm paying a little bit more. So like, okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. So whenever I withdrew out of school, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the hospital, work as a rehab tech. Just gonna put a little more, a little more, a little bit more, like each time. So it was like 500 in student loans I was paying total a month, and I was putting like an extra, like, not $50 or $100 each paycheck. Whenever I actually wrote down all my debt one time. And when I withdrew out of school, I was paying almost $800 a month in just loans. Now, I know there are a lot of people paying way more than that, but for me, on a rehab tech salary, that's a lot of money because I was making $16 an hour. $16 an hour, and I had to pay $800 a month just on just on loans. So that's a lot of money for $16 an hour. That's a lot of money. So I was like, holy crap! So all I know how to do is like I'm just gonna do what I can, and thankfully, one of the things I was very thankful for is like I said I'm very particular with my money. So I made sure I had a certain amount of money saved in the bank before I even bought my first car. So I still had a good chunk of money in the bank before I was So I was in a good position. I was in not a good position, but I was like in a emotionally safe position that I could even if I had to stop working, that I can still pay for my car for a while. I was in an emotionally safe position. That's what I thought. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep doing this, and I kept doing that, same thing. And then I got into PTA school, you know, same thing, paying for school out of pocket, just putting a little bit towards my car each time. And then my car started to just stop on me. Well, legit, I'll be driving and it'll just stop. I'm like, this is not good. So in the middle of PTA school, I had to buy a brand new car. And I was like, dang, I didn't want to have to buy a car. But the places that I was going was potentially not the nicest place early in the morning. So I was like, that's the safest thing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Thankfully, I paid so much for my first car that I had some equity in it pretty much. So I was able to. So they gave me like $4K for my old car. I'm like, okay, dope, I'll take it. So I was just paying a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. Then when I graduated PTA school, one of the first things I did, I remember I was going for a walk and I typed in how to pay off debt fast, and I was watching all these different videos, and then I was like, okay, like how am I gonna do this? I'm just gonna write some things down, and that's when I heard about the debt snowball method. Now, typically, there's two methods that you hear about. You hear about the debt avalanche and the debt snowball. One is mathematically more sound. One is emotionally more sound. And the thing about, because the debt avalanche is more mathematically sound, because the debt avalanche, you pay off the highest interest rate first, if I'm not mistaken. I think you pay off the highest interest rate first, and then you take all that money, put it towards the next one. Then take all that money, put it towards the next one, and so on and so forth. Whereas the debt snowball method, you list all your bills, smallest to largest. It doesn't matter what the interest rate is. You could have, if you have one that's $500 and that's 20% interest, and you got one that is $5,000 and that's 2% interest. You pay the smallest one first, and then you go to the largest. That way you gain those emotional wins. It's like just a little reward each time. And that's one that I follow. I follow the debt snowball method. Made popular by Dave Ramsey. Some people love him, some people don't. Yeah, you have to kind of pick and choose different things. And as you get older and as you're learning more about finances, you kind of understand like what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. There's a reason he's been around for so long. Yeah, not everyone likes him. I know particularly a lot of young people don't like him because some of your stuff is antiquated and things like that. If you don't like his method, don't follow his method. Plain and simple. But the man gets results. That's one thing I can say. The man gets results, but the most important thing about it is his 7 baby steps. The most important thing about Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps is it gives you a plan. And that's one thing that I kind of realized that, because again, they're saying, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The most important thing about 7 baby steps is it gives you a general blueprint to follow, which is huge. Just having that blueprint, just having a general idea of what to do, because most people are lost when it comes to debt payoff. A lot of people feel like you have to have your student loans for 20, 30 years. A lot of people feel like you have to have your car, your car payments for 10 years. You got to have your mortgage for 30 years, whatever it is. If you want to, you can, but you don't have to. Why? And the thing also that people don't think about is that because people are like, oh yeah, I'm just I'll pay the minimum for however long. I'm just gonna keep paying a minimum, keep paying a minimum, keep paying a minimum. The reason why I'm so glad I didn't just pay the minimum is one thing is that I end up the way I saw it is that I gave myself a pay raise, pretty much, because each time if I paid something off, that means that wasn't that much, that was money that could go into my pocket. So again, mind you, I was giving out like almost $800 a month on my bills, right, on my debt. So once I paid everything off, I gave myself an $800 a month raise. Who doesn't want an extra $800 in their pocket? I know I do. If you don't want your extra $800, give it to me. I'll gladly take it. But that's one way I saw it, is that I'm giving myself an extra $800 a month. Yes. Another thing that I thought is, because it's not always the the principal that gets you, it's the interest rate that people don't pay attention to. Because people see the interest rate and they think about it, but I don't think people pay enough attention to it, or pay enough attention to it in the long term and see what it actually does. Because at the time when I was actually paying attention to this, I owed $13,000 on one loan. And if I paid it the way they wanted me to pay it off, I would have paid over $20,000 for that same exact loan. Why do I want to give somebody extra $7,000 when I'm struggling? To me, that would make sense. Like, if you're struggling, why would you want to just say, hey, so and so, here's $7,000 that I ain't got? Why would I want to do that? That makes no sense to me. If it makes sense to you, do you. But to me, I don't want to give someone extra $7,000. Like, I work hard for my money. I don't want to pay anybody more than I have to. So that's one of the reasons why I decided to do the debt snowball method and still follow like some of Dave Ramsey's principles, because a lot of things make sense. So the first part about the 7 baby steps, and again, I'm on baby step 3. I don't remember all the baby steps because I kind of just got to 3. I'm just like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. Because again, it's a process. And being in school, I don't have as much liquid assets, to really like plan things out as much as I want to financially. But the first baby step is saving $1,000 for an emergency fund. No, that's not meant to cover all emergencies. It's made for just something, and most people don't have $1,000 saved. Like, most people aren't aware of where the money is going, and that's one of the things about. I just got burp. That's one of the big things about the baby steps, is that it 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 gets you in a mindset of understanding your finances, of just being alert and aware of where everything is going. So the first step is saving $1,000 for an emergency fund. It's like, okay, once you do that, good. The second step is paying off all your debt, smallest to largest, except for your house. Paying off your house is like step 6, I think, something around there. I think it's like step 6, and it's paying off your smaller debts, if you will, smallest to largest. If you have 1, 3, 5, 35, it's paying off smallest to largest. And as you're paying off one, you're putting all that money going towards the second one. So let's say if you had 4 debts, you had, this was $100, $200, $300, $400 a month. Once you're paying this one off, so you paid this one off, so this one gets added to this one. So you're paying this 100 plus 200 towards this bill. Once this gets paid off, you put this $300 towards this one. So it just keeps adding, and adding. I was like, okay, that makes sense, because the more momentum you build, the faster you're paying things off, less money you gotta give people. And again, I don't know about y'all, but I want to get all my money away. So I'm like, let's go ahead and follow this thing. Let's see what it do. So that's baby step number 2, is just trying to pay off all your debt. And depending on how you do it, how gung-ho you want to be about it, some people can be a little bit more lackadaisical with it. Some people can be super hardcore with it. One of the things that he says is beans and rice and beans. And some people take that very literal. If you want to take that literal, be super literal. Like whenever I was lifting heavy, I would legit eat the same thing every day. You can ask my parents, my sister. I legit ate the same thing every day for over 2 years. And it also just helped, just understand where your finances were. But again, when it says beans, rice and beans, he didn't mean it literally. It was just like whatever you can do, whatever you can spend the least amount of money on food, that's going to sustain you for this grind. And rice and beans is is a lot. It can go a long way. That's brought people food. Rice and beans. Whenever eggs weren't $85 an egg, you can do some eggs or some ground beef or some rice. That stuff goes a long way. So that's baby step 2. Baby step 3 is start to save a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, and that is 3 to 6 months of your expenses. So if you spend $3,000 a month on rent, utilities, all that stuff, then you'll say 3,000 times 3. That's 9,000. Or you're going to do 6 months. That'll be like $18,000. One of the things that one of his old personalities started saying, Anthony O'Neill, shout out to Anthony O'Neill, because I like some stuff that he says, is that he says not 3 to 6 months of expenses, but he says 3 to 6 months of your earnings. So let's say if your expenses are $3,000, but you make $5,000, you can either do the $3,000 times 3 for your 3 months, which is $9,000, or you do the 5,000 times 3, which is $15,000. And that way, it covers everything. You don't have to change your lifestyle at all. That's one thing. That's one of the reasons why he did that. Is so he's like, I don't have to change my lifestyle at all. I'm good. So I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. So it just depends on which route you want to go, which route makes the most sense for you. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Is I'm just in the midst of saving, saving my emergency fund in a high yield savings account. There are tons of them. I was trying to find different, doing my research, okay, which one is best? Should I do a high yield savings account? Should I do a CD? And again, CDs are good. They usually give pretty high interest rate. I think most CDs are 3.5% or higher, for a couple of months. It pretty much locks your rate in, locks your money up in a certain amount, for whatever that time period is. And then after there, and I think you can renew your CD, or you can just take the money out. Whereas with a high yield savings account, it's a savings account, typically an online savings account, but they give really good percentages. For instance, for your typical bank, you usually get 1.25% interest rate on your money. That's not a lot. So in 6 months you'll get 60 cents or something like that. If you got a lot of money in your bank account, you get 60 cents. Whereas in a high yield savings account, the one that I had, it was, I forget where I'm at right now. I think I'm at 4% now. I think I was almost at 5. I think it was 4.6% when I first started. And I put just a little bit of money in there just to see what it was like, just to make sure that it was legit. And I was like, oh, okay. And I put almost a full 6-month emergency fund in there. It was 4 or 5 months emergency fund in there. And I was like, I'm getting $60 a month just to have my money just sitting here. So $60 a month versus 60 cents every 3 months. You can do the math, which one I'm going to go with. I'm like, I can make $180 in the time that it took me to make 60 cents. Why not? I'm putting my money in a high yield savings account. Granted, I still do have a traditional brick and mortar. And one thing that my financial advisor said, I started seeing a financial advisor last year. He was like, just put all your money into a high yield savings account, and then you can just go ahead and withdraw your money and put it in your regular bank account, because I have my automatic withdrawals from there for my rent, my bills, things like that. So that's one of the things that he said. I didn't make that full move quite yet. I probably am, but I haven't done that yet. Why? Because I'm still paying for school out there, and I can be a little lazy sometimes, to be honest. So that's part of one reason why I haven't done it yet. Yeah, but that's one of the things my financial advisor said, which makes a lot of sense. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. All of that to say is that the way I am paying for school out of pocket and being out of school debt free is I did a lot of research before I even picked a school. I looked at the degree. I was like, okay, this is the degree I want. Which schools have this degree? I was just starting right now that all the schools have this degree. I was like, okay, this school, this school, this school. I think I had a list of 20 schools that had a degree. I looked at the amount of classes, the amount of credits, and per credit. And I'll start writing all those things down. I was like, okay, this one costs this much, this one costs this much, this one costs this much. And I pretty much wrote them down in order of price. And I also wrote down the classes that that sound interesting to me. So there are two schools that are very even, with the time length and the pricing. Then I went with the one with the classes sound more interesting to me. So that's another thing I did. And then I also went and did a lot of research and say, pretty much just to understand like which school is better. Like, is this school better for this? Is this school better for that? Just kind of like narrowing my choices down a little bit. So after I did those three things, I actually wrote down on a note card. I was like, okay, I have this many classes, this much per credit. If I took out student loans or whatever, I'm going to have to take out this much with student loans. If I don't take out student loans, I'm going to have to make this much money to pay for school extra. Or just this is how much money I'm going to pay for school extra. So I just had a general idea of how much money I had to pay for school. I was like, okay, and I had to get comfortable with that emotionally because like I said, there's some financial emotional trauma. I'll say that it's like, and I've never been comfortable with money. I actually didn't have my first debit card until I was 23. Yeah, 23. I just had an ATM card. I legit had an ATM card. So whenever I needed money, I would legit go to the ATM, put my card in, and take out cash. I was that financially insecure. I was like, if I can see it, that I can control it. If I have a piece of plastic, I can't see my money. I don't know where it is, how much I have. Even though I can see the number, but emotionally, I didn't feel comfortable just having a card. So I was like, okay, ATM card. I'm using my ATM card until I was like 23. So I made sure I did that. Is to look at schools that have the degree, see how many credits they were, see how much per credit it was, see which classes made sense to me, which ones I liked. And to be honest, actually, this sounds kind of weird, but I actually looked even at the graduation gowns. Cause I was like, I can see myself in this. Trying to future thing, trying to imagine myself as Big Dr. Hill. Trying picture myself that way. So I was looking at different things like that. I was like, okay, cool. And the first thing I did, I actually started this when I really started to hammer out my bills. Is I was like, okay, what can I do that's going to give me the most bang for my buck? That's going to give me the most amount of time that I can do different things. And I was like, okay, I was looking at different like online things, like, okay, like this is like you're gonna play this game, they'll give you they'll give me a little money here, a little money there. I was looking at that, I was like, this makes sense, no. So the thing that I started doing is, this may be a little graphic for some people, but I actually started donating plasma. If you're in a pinch, it is a good way to get a little extra change in. I will admit, it did help me pay off my student loans. I'm 100% because I am not gonna hide that. It's like I'm honest with you guys. I'm like, I legit started donating plasma, and I was getting a good penny. I will say you have to be careful of your health whenever you're donating plasma. You have to make sure that you're staying hydrated. You have to make sure that you eat something, because if not, you will pass out. Not if, you will pass out. So you have to make sure that you're hydrated. You have to make sure that you're eating something. If not, you're gonna pass out. And you actually have to be a certain weight. They actually have like weight limits and everything like that. If you weigh a certain amount, you gotta pay a certain amount. So I donate plasma twice a week, legit for over a year, to help pay off my bills and help pay for school. And I was like, I do what I gotta do. And then while I was doing that, I actually called my old hospital, and I was like, hey, do you guys have any PRN like positions available? And they're like, yeah, we have a PRN position, go ahead and apply. I'm like, dope, okay. So I applied for the PRN position, and that's actually how I got back into hospital as physical therapy assistant. I was like, okay, this is gonna work. And then there were some issues with my main job, and I gained time off, for training and everything like that. So I started at the hospital like 2 or 3 months later than I was supposed to, because time wouldn't allow me to. So I started back at the hospital in December of 2022. So I've been back at the hospital for just over 2 years. And then what I've been doing with that is we have a requirement that you have to work in the position called PRN. Different hospital systems have different requirements. but the requirement for my main job is I have to work 4 days a month. So I have to work. So again, you can choose whatever 4 days you want. There's no real requirement. Up until now, the requirements are changing a little bit, but you just had to work 4 days a month. I'm like, okay, I can do that. Okay, I can do it because whenever I got out of PTA school, I was working at 2 hospitals. And I was working 6 days on, 1 day off. So this schedule, I'm working 12 days on, 1 day off. I'm like, okay, this is going to help me pay for school. This is how I pay for school. And that's how I was just thinking about it, because I'm like, this is going to be tough. And the funny thing about it is, I remember I was doing my taxes last year, and I was like, I wonder how much money I made and how much I paid for school. And literally, I made just $1,000 less than I needed for my whole tuition for that year. So it was like all the hours I worked at the hospital legit paid for school except for $1,000. So I pretty much only had to take $1,000 out from my main job to pay for school. I was like, that's pretty cool. So, I've been working a little bit more this year. Not a whole lot more, but a little bit more this year. Things have been a little bit different. I've been able to work holidays a little bit. So, typically at a hospital, you get paid a little bit more on the holidays than you do for a weekday. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let so I can take advantage of working on the holidays a little bit. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just work on the holidays and just trying to keep my nose to the ground, just saying, this is why I'm working. This is why I'm working like this, is so I can pay for school. Is it hard? Yeah, it's difficult. Is it impossible? No, it's not. It's not impossible. You just have to remind yourself why you're doing certain things, because you will be tired. There are times that you're a little more tired than other times. Sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, I just keep going. Most of the times I feel like it's a doable tired. Possibly because I know why I'm doing it. Because again, if you don't know why you're doing something, it just makes that thing that much harder. So I think because I know why I'm doing it is why I'm able to work so hard. Because my boss legit asked me, she's like, how are you doing all this? Because again, I have 2 jobs. I'm in school full time. I'm still I had one B in my whole program. It was at 88. So I can say I've been pretty successful with school. Not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I've been fairly successful with school. So I'm like, hey, I just gotta do what I gotta do. That's pretty much what I told her. I was like, no, I gotta go. I gotta do what I gotta do, and that's pretty much what it is. But the first thing, again, but all that to say is that the way I'm paying for school out of pocket is I had to decide of a debt payoff plan. So I had more expendable finances. So I had to figure out a debt payoff plan, paid off all my debt. That I was able to free up more of my money so I can divvy that up where I need it to be. Then I found a quote unquote side hustle, if you will, which was donating plasma. And the reason why I decided to donate plasma is so I can still have a good chunk of my day, because on a busy day, I was in a plasma donation place for 3 hours. On a non-busy day, I was in there for 45 minutes. Legit, there have been times I'll walk in, quick, easy. Including like from walking in to walking out, like 45 minutes. That was like a short day. Like there have been a lot of like 45-minute days. Just depending on how busy the place is. So that was my side hustle. And my second side hustle, if you will, was my part-time job, working back in the hospital as a physical therapy assistant. So I told myself I had to do what I had to do to get what I need to get. I also decided that I would buy a lot of things in bulk. Because it's a little bit easier to buy in bulk. And typically, if you buy things in bulk, you get a little bit of a discount. I did get a Sam's Club membership because it's like $100 a year for a Sam's Club membership. However, the amount of money that you save on gas, because those Sam's Club discounts on gas, if you don't know, you gotta get on Sam's Club. Sam's Club has some good discounts. Sam's Club, BJ's has some good discounts. I'm trying to think of who else. I think Costco may also. But yeah, but if you got a big box store like that, get that discount. And I was also buying, a lot of store brand things. Because to be honest, a lot of store brand things are made in the same factories as the name brand things, to be honest. And some of them you can taste a difference. Some of them you can't taste a difference. Sometimes I'm like, this is close enough. This is good enough. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's close enough for what I need it to be for. And that helps because you can easily save half the price of certain things depending on if you're buying name brand or store brand, to be honest. So I'm like, no, let me save some dollars and just go buy store brand. Try these things out, slowly but surely, unless there's like a deal going on. But yeah, I started buying store brand things. And again, it's been working for me because, like I said, I've been able to, with the work I've been doing, with not spending too much crazy money, I've been able to get this far. I've been able to, in the past, since 2022, I've been able to pay off because my car was already paid for. Before I moved into my last apartment. But since late 2022, I've been able to pay off my full student loan, my last student loan. I've been able to pay for school out of pocket up until I have one more class that I haven't paid for. That's it. No debt, no student loans, nothing. Again, it just takes having a game plan and putting your nose to the ground and saying, I got work to do. That's pretty much all it is. Is it hard? Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's not hard. It's a little bit physically and mentally, emotionally taxing. But it's not hard. It's kind of tedious, if anything. Is it tedious? Yeah, it's pretty tedious. Is it difficult? Yeah, sometimes. Is it impossible? No. You just have to want to do it. You just have a game plan and you have to want to do it. That's pretty much it. But yeah, nothing too fancy, but those are my generalized game plan of how I was paying for school out of pocket and how I'm paying for school out of pocket and paying for my doctorate debt free. Now, again, if YouTube wants to pay for my last semester, I ain't gonna be mad about it. But until they do, I have a game plan. I actually have the money saved for my last semester. I have money saved for my big trip that I'm doing after graduation. I'm gonna take you all along with me for that one. So I already have my stuff planned for graduation. So got money saved for my last class. I already bought my graduation suit. I have the money saved up for my trip after graduation. I have to just start paying in increments with that. Again, it's like, oh yeah, you can pay in increments. Whenever I say when I'm thinking of paying increments, to me it still sounds like debt. I'm like, it feels a little iffy. So I'm like, can't I just pay in one lump sum and just knock it out type thing? Because again, so it doesn't feel like I'm going into debt for something. Again, I'm kind of iffy about that. But yeah, that's been my plan. That's how I've been working it. And again, it's been pretty good so far. It's been pretty successful. So yeah, just want to chop up with you guys a little bit. This is night 3. Again, nothing really I had to do for tonight. I may look at next week's homework to see if I can get a head start on that. If I can, I will. If I can't, then I may just wait until Sunday. I actually have Sunday off, so I may wait until Sunday to get a start on some other stuff for next week and the week after that. And I'm just waiting for 2 more of my committee members to send emails to my teacher. But that's it. But yeah, I know this video went a little bit long, but yeah, just want to chop it up with you guys a little bit about, like I said, about how I paid, for school out of pocket, how I'm paying for school out of pocket, debt free. So yeah, if there's any questions, comments, drop them down in the comments. I'd love to chat with you guys. But until then, later.